Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody in the chat already early. Everybody got their thinking caps on. Eric, I hope you're ready because you know what the topic's going to be to start with.
Yeah,
We're going to get right into the disclaimer and get right into the subject matter, okay? Nighthawk High Strange, this podcast channel may use some copyrighted material without specific authorization of the owner, but contends that it falls under the fair use, which is the Copyright Act of 1976. Nighthawk High Strange's podcast channel, under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, claims fair use of any and all content, including the music, YouTube, for purposes such as criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, parody, general knowledge only, and let's not forget the entertainment value. And trust me, you guys are going to be entertained today, at least for the first half of the program.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Let's get this for entertainment purposes only. Things posted up there real quickly. Let me get that off the screen now. All right, there we are. Okay, let me get my beanie cap off. All righty. I wear this because it's got speakers on it, so at night when I sleep, I can listen to things. Anyways, I put a little bit of, can you dig it?
Can you dig it, sucker? Hey, Lauren. Man, I was hoping I could be able to put that up in the background, but
go ahead.
I don't have no room. Well, I don't have no room. I can't find a place to put it where it's not going to obstruct everything. Maybe right over
there. Yeah, right there. Double-sided tape. Double-sided tape. Here, I got some. You want some? Here. Wouldn't you freak out if that worked? You should actually have one of these on that side. We should do that sometime.
Oh, man, I used to have some. I'm gonna have to get some sometime. Hey.
That would freak everybody out. How the hell did they do that?
Oh God, yeah.
All right, I want to get into saying good morning to everybody. Good morning, everybody. Look at Laura. Lori says Guten Morgen. Good morning, Roxanne. Good to see you. There's David. There's little David and his little man bun.
That man bun was cute.
Bun was cute. You saw what I told him, didn't you? I told him, I said, we don't call it a man bun, we call it a hold my beer tail. I'll hold my beer.
Or I'll hold your beer. I'll hold your beer. You're gonna bump your head trying to get up there, bub.
Candy, good to see you. Who else we got? Oh, this heifer, good to see you. Good to see you first thing in the morning. Judy, good to see you. There's Candy again and Lori. Woo, good to see you, Woo. Let's see. Monica, good to see you. Let's see here. Let's see.
Good morning, Juno.
Anybody else? Hey, Juno, good to see you. Richard, good to see you. All righty. Let's see. Man, everybody's really going in the chat. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Dead Wolf, good to see you.
Good morning, Rhonda. Arr, arr.
Alrighty. Let's see.
Arr.
Lauren, good to see you. Wow, everybody's in the chat this morning.
Yeah, it's a popping, man. I'm liking it.
Rhonda, yeah, everybody's here. That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, you got an orneriness in your eyes, huh? At least you didn't put an H at the beginning of that.
Morning, Smurfy. Morning, Ida.
Hey, Smurfy. Good to see you. Ida, good to see you. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I don't even know why I'm laughing so early. I had a rough night, everybody. I know we're going to get into the dog man and werewolf thing discussion this morning. To start, and
Oh,
that's funny. That's funny, David. Oh, yeah,
Lord.
man. Yeah, she's growling at you. Oh,
Oh,
Rihanna, good to see you. Yeah, I had a rough night. Eric and I were talking backstage before the show. In fact, I was thinking of starting a little late because we were getting pretty heavy into the subject. And we're kind of at an impasse. So I'm going to pick everybody's brain in the chat. Okay. I was, how do I want to say, every night before I try to go to sleep, and that's tried to go to sleep because sometimes I hardly get any. I meditate and I say the prayers, sing the prayers and stuff, and combine kind of like the Native American thing with the Christian thing as far as like praying. Okay. And I do that literally every night. Some nights I'll do like a ceremony back here. And anyways, those of you that know me know that I carry my knife on me. Okay, this knife. Okay. Now this knife has been through thick and thin with me. Okay, this knife is inscribed with sacred well if Angelique was in the chat, she would know what I mean when I say this. It's a pajuta sapa. It's a pajuta sapa is a sacred medicine. Okay, and sapa means black, so obviously it means black medicine. Okay, but it's inscribed with some Native American hieroglyphs on the blade. Okay, and they're there for a symbolism thing. Okay, to take the darkness out of something and bring it to the light. Okay, in other words, if I was to say use this in a way against somebody that was evil, just them getting nicked by the blade would draw the darkness out of them into the blade and bring them back to the light. Okay, that's what this knife is designed for. This knife was blessed specifically to combat evil, darkness. Okay, and we talk about the legends of the Wendigo, the Big W, and the Skinwalkers. Well, this is most of that technique that I use against them. Okay, nowadays. Okay, this knife. So it's a very, very. Hey, Kevin, good to see you. This knife, Carl, good to see you. This knife has been blessed. It's been blessed by even Chief American Horse before he passed away. It's been blessed by myself through on Sundance Ground Sweat Lodges and stuff. So it has gone through several stages of being blessed. Okay. As with any object, traditionally, when we get something we will wrap it in red cloth and we will bury it in the ground for 7 days. Okay. Now that number seven has a lot of sacredness to it, to me and to the creator. Okay. Because seven is the number of God. Okay. And that's biblical. That's the number seven is the number of God. But in the Lakota way of life, it means also the seven directions. Okay. So you've got your north, your south, your east, your west. Okay. You're above, you're below, and you're within. Okay. That's the seven. All right. Um, so when we're talking about the above, we're talking about the light, the universe, the creator. Okay. Everything positive in this world. When we're talking about the below, we're talking about Makawakan, Sacred Mother Earth, okay, and everything connected to her, okay. Now, in order for me to tell you about my dream last night, I've got to go into this way, okay. I gotta feed it out this way so you understand something. Um, the reason I bring up the Sacred Mother Earth, Makawakan, um, is the fact that if you remember in the Bible, it said that Lucifer and his chosen angels that sided with him were cast down to earth and thrown into a bottomless pit. Okay. Um, I'm not sure the exact wording, but I believe that's pretty dang close. Okay. So excuse me if I'm a little off. Um, how do I want to say this? Last night about 2 a.m., I finally fell asleep. Okay. And I think it was just out of utter exhaustion. Um, but as I no sooner did I close my eyes, I was in another location. Okay. I was in a dark place, surrounded by darkness. And then it's like I exited the darkness into this bright area. Okay. Not white light. Okay. Not like looking down a tunnel or anything like that. Okay. Um, and I noticed this being standing in front of me about, I'd say about 20 feet away from me. And I looked up at him because this being was every bit of 15 feet tall. And as I looked up to him, I knew it was a male. It was a male standing there, and I'm guessing he could have even been bigger than 15 feet tall. I'm guessing at that. Okay. Um, Needless to say, I had the feeling like I had seen him before. I had this anger in my heart towards him. Okay. And girl on a gong, good to see you. Kevin, good to see you. Um, anyways, I noticed he had a knife in his hand. Now his knife was a lot bigger than my knife. Okay. Um, anyways, but I noticed he had a knife in his hand, and he goes, "Are you ready to, are you ready to fight?" And I looked at him, and without even hesitating, I pulled out my knife out of my sheath, and I held it in the combat style, and I remember my movements, and I remember lunging at him, and I remember him kind of taunting me. Okay. And anyways, I remember lunging at him and taking the blade and taking it across. I jumped up and I took it across his abdomen area, his stomach, his gut. And I remember feeling like the blade cut him. Okay, cut him, pretty bad too. And I stepped back and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and then he looked down at the cut, and then he looked back at me, and it's like I had this mental image put in my head that how do I want to say this? That it wasn't the first time that I have fought this guy. Okay, that I had fought this guy, and that this person wasn't a person. It was an angel. Okay, and it wasn't the angelic white light angel. It was Azazel. Okay, it was the fallen angel that taught the humans how to make weapons and how to war and how to fight. And he looked at me like, like, I can't believe you did that to me, because I'm the one that taught your kind how to fight. That kind of a look he gave me. And I remember putting my knife back in its sheath like we were done. And I just looked at him. I didn't even say anything. I just looked at him. And the next thing I know, I woke up. And I had and I hate to say it this way, I had the devil of a time getting back to sleep at 3 a.m. In other words, that whole time span took an hour. It felt like a minute, but it took an hour. Now, here's my thought on the whole thing. When Samyaza and Azazel and all the others were thrown out of heaven and cast into the earth, it's described as a dark place. Okay, there was one person that had the nerve to go into the bottomless pit and retrieve somebody. And that was Jesus Christ, if you remember. Okay, he actually went down into the pits of hell. I honestly think that the darkness area that I was in to begin with, Eric, was the entrance to hell. I really do. And then by coming out into the light was kind of like, maybe it was kind of like a midway point to the bottom of the bottomless pit to the opening, to the so-called gates of hell. And maybe that's where the fight was. I had the feeling like I said, I knew who he was. I can't describe the feeling. Good morning, Dawn. Good to see you. And Damario, good to see you. Girl with a gong, good to see you. Carl, good to see you. I knew who he was. That's the weird thing. I knew he was an angelic being at one time, a divine energy source at one time. Okay. Now, the only thing I can, Don, good to see you. The only thing I can think of is that with my knife being blessed the way it is, to draw the darkness out of something and make it come back to the light, by either getting cut or poked by it, maybe by my actions towards it that and I hate to use the word it because I don't want to use him because technically he's not a him. I mean he's a being, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I don't know. We were talking backstage. Maybe it has something to do. You know, we all think about the Hollywood thing and how we all know that there's an immortal connection to them, whether they are the fallen, whether they're the fallen or you know or whatever you want to call them. We all know that there are Hollywood people that are basically they seem to be around forever. They seem to reinvent themselves every 100 years or so. Okay, like they get sick and tired um, of of living one certain way. Um,
Yeah.
now, maybe there are some of the fallen in Hollywood that are a little bit um, silently putting stuff out in movies and TV shows and even music to kind of give humanity a heads up because they're trying to atone for being coerced by Samyaza and Azazel to do what they did
Yeah.
against humanity against God. Um, maybe that's their way. That dream was their way of and there was others too. There was Barakal. There was Sam Samuzal, and several other fallen.
Yeah.
I can't remember all their names, but I can remember some of them. Um, but maybe they're the ones that are in Hollywood that are kind of letting these little tidbits out in some movies and stuff to forewarn us or to give us a heads up. We know that there's that satanic connection and all at the Hollywood too. So you got
Mm.
the whole Baal thing, and you got the whole Luciferian thing connection to Hollywood. So it would make sense that maybe there's a couple of these fallen angels that are just sick and tired of taking orders from you know two beings that are literally no more than what they are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's
I
that
mean,
thing.
that whole dream was really weird because when I went across and I gut checked them with the blade. um I was telling Eric backstage, I said I felt it. I knew I did that. I didn't feel it as far as it hurting me. Okay, but I felt it. I knew that I had damaged him in some way, shape, or form. Okay, and this is the first time I've ever dreamt of having a knife fight with an angelic being. Okay, and I have to use the word angelic being because technically that's what he is. Okay, even though he is a fallen one, he still is he's connected to that kind of a source.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's a darker source now. But yeah, and I knew it was Azazel, Eric, because he's the one that was teaching humanity how to make weapons and make blades and all that, and how to war and fight. So
Yeah.
it would make sense that it was Azazel that I was fighting.
Well, and you got to remember too, both the Watchers and the fallen angels, even though they're not allowed to go back to heaven, they never lost their powers. They never lost their ranking. They never lost any of that stuff. So they are the same as they were when they were in heaven. So I mean, that would
Right.
make sense on that part.
And people, I'm telling you, brothers and sisters in the chat, my family in the chat, I'm telling you, this was realistic. This was
Mm-hmm.
vivid color. This wasn't a black and white dream. This was vivid color, bright whites, bright golden colors, yellow, reds, even the blacks kind of stuck out like a shadow figure would stick out in the dark. You know what I mean? It's that kind of a
Mm-hmm.
black. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I've been battling with that all morning. Um, I don't know. It's just the whole thing was weird, and it was like I was being told something. I don't know if it was a warning, because at the same time I had a very dear friend of mine. Let's put it to you this way. Forewarned me that I am definitely being watched.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so and this was even before I had fallen asleep. I got that warning about midnight or so, sometime around there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just, I mean, it is what it is. Some of the subject matter we talk about, we talk about it because first off, it's our right. We're allowed to talk about it to begin with, and it's for
Mm-hmm.
entertainment purposes only. Um, but some of it can get pretty tricky when you talk about stuff. It's not like
Right.
you have the disclosure stuff, going on in DC. It's not a bunch of whitewash bullshit that we're talking about. It's facts, it's theories, and
Mm-hmm.
it's trying to link certain things together. Um, and a lot of times it pisses the cabal off. And when I use the term cabal, I mean I'm talking about, not only does it piss the fallen ones off, that are in charge ultimately, but I believe it pisses off the humans that are working in conjunction with them, you
Yeah.
know? And that's why we see so much going on in society nowadays, like the Black Eye Club, in Hollywood and in the
Mm-hmm.
music industry. You know, we have all the missing people. I mean, we're trying to connect all these dots, and everybody's thinking, well, all these people go missing around granite boulders and water. Well, my theory on the granite boulder thing, that these
Yep.
beings, the fallen, could actually be in underneath the boulders in an area, because I had that park ranger guy friend of mine tell me about the boulder being picked up and something with big hands grabbing this deer by the back legs and pulling it into the opening, and then the boulder just closed down on top of the where the deer went.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was in a national park. Um, and then with water, if you think about the whole water thing, and this is why Native Americans are so cautious around water, and we make sure that we lay tobacco on the water to offer it a blessing, and to thank it for being there, and to help us.
Mm-hmm.
And water, if you think about the
Water
stories
is the blood.
of the fountain of
It's the
youth.
life
Think
force.
about the stories of the fountain of youth. Okay, think about the stories in the Bible of the firmament. Okay, the water above and the water below. Okay, there have been scientists and researchers that have gone in vessels to as far deep as they could go around the Mariana Trench, and they had seen like a lake in the bottom of
Mm-hmm.
the ocean. And they said that when they tried to get the submersible to penetrate the water of it, they bounced off because the water was so salty that they couldn't penetrate to enter the lake to see what was in the lake. Okay. Now, this is a lake with a complete density difference than the water in the ocean. Okay. So when I talk about water, we're talking about the spiritual aspect of water. We're talking about not only does water conduct energy, okay, which we all know from dealing with the paranormal, but it's also a supernatural type of a thing to where I believe that these beings can travel. I think
Mm-hmm.
these beings literally travel the water. Okay. And it would make sense too with that connection
Yeah.
because the book of Enoch talks about how the daughters of man, when they coerced with the fallen angels and made giants, that they were punished and turned into mermaids, and that's why we have mermaid stories and sightings to this day. Is because but there's that water connection with that whole egregious type of a scenario. So,
Yeah.
it seems like everything is connected to water, you know? So I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me overthinking it.
Well, I mean, you got to consider to the Native Americans, the water is the blood of Mother Earth. It is the life source for us. You must always, always, always respect water. That's why you don't
Yeah,
piss in it, you don't shit in it, you don't throw trash in it, you don't skip, don't throw rocks in it. Respect the water.
right. Hey,
You know?
Smurfy. Hey, James.
So I mean that makes a lot of sense. And Ida brings up something I never thought about before. Because I've had similar dreams where I've been fighting demons and I've been fighting all this other stuff. She says, "Do all warriors and fighters encounter a being like that?" I asked because I remember Bruce Lee encountering large beings. If you've been watching the videos I've been putting out, and I'm sorry I haven't put the latest one out this week. I was caught up on that entity I caught on thermal. Um, it's that case with me as well. And then you're talking about the same thing. So I mean, I never really thought about that before until she said that, and I was like, I remember a lot of my warrior brothers and sisters talking about a similar situation with them. They were
Mm-hmm.
either fighting demons or monsters or something. I mean, that's me. Most of my realistic dreams are that way.
Hey,
That's
Kyle.
not a
Yeah.
not a bad
Yeah.
concept to think of.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, and that whole dream, I mean, for feeling like it was just a minute or so during the
Hmm.
knife fight, it was a whole hour gone. So did I actually shift into a reality that they are at, that they're being held in,
Yeah.
or they're holding up in? Was I shifted to that reality to be given a message, to be given a warning? Or was I dreaming? That's the thing. I couldn't discern the difference because it was so real. It was like I fell asleep and I woke up in another place. And I mean, I was wearing the same clothes. In fact, I was wearing the same clothes I'm wearing now, which is kind of weird. But
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
so I many times when I've had dreams very similar to what you're talking about, um, I woke up where I've been cut, where I've been scratched, where I've been shot, no matter what it was. I woke up on my body with them exact marks on my physical body that I got in my dream world body. Um, so that's why when I asked you, did you wake up with marks on you?
No.
Because of that right there. But you didn't. So that almost is like, it's like I was telling you backstage, is like, he could be telling you that, hey, I taught you to make these things. You really think you're going to hurt me with this? I know the weakness to this.
Right.
You do not. I mean,
Right.
they give you messages in dreams. There's a reason. So in Norse, well, in the Viking world, we have those that's called the seer.
Right.
They can see things, they can talk to the gods. They can do all this. In old Saxon, it's satyr. In Native
Right.
Americans, it's the holy, the shaman,
Right.
which you are one. So
Yeah.
you have this ability to talk to these things outside of the physical world. And so
Well,
it very well be.
I have the one angelic being around me all the time. I described him yesterday to everybody, Um, he's 20 foot tall. He's always around me. He's always either beside me or standing behind
Mhm.
me, and, you know, I see his six wings, he's got six wings, and he's, he kind of reminds me of,
Mhm.
I forget what type of moth it is, but there's this real beautiful greenish white moth that's out,
No, get out of
that's
town.
around. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a beautiful moth, and it's a big one,
Whoa.
and kind of reminds me of that, you know.
I've had a very similar dream, but it was on another planet. I've had that moth on another planet.
Mm.
That is wicked. Um, I'm trying to get caught up on the
Luna
comments here
moth.
too.
Yeah,
So
Lauren, thank you. It's a Luna moth.
yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes. Um, yeah. It's man. I don't know. I know. My family has um, certain gifts. It's just passed down mainly. Okay, and I have to admit this, as much as I don't want to. It's mainly from my Smith side, which the Smith side practice dark magic. Um, you know, at the same time, my grandpa, my mom's dad, who was a testerman, made a deal with Lucifer. Is that why we have the gifts we have? A lot of my Smith side have that gift, and that's probably where I get it from. My
Well,
oldest is just now starting.
yeah, you know how I grew up. You know how I was
Yeah,
indoctrinated into the dark Native American craft,
yeah,
into the medicine, and so I
yeah.
mean, how many times have I told the incident that happened with the devil's chair in my mom and dad's bedroom? You know, the devil's
But
chair was right next to the side of the bed. So, did she make a deal with Lucifer, with me as a child or not? I mean, with
well, I
everything that's
mean,
happened
it
in my
passes.
life, it very well could have been.
Yeah, it passes down. I mean, sometimes his deal affected him. I'm not going to lie. His deal affected him, and he wasn't him the last 20 years. He wasn't him. He was something completely different. It changed. Eventually, the price was paid for what he wanted. Um, yes, all the time, Don. I do all the time, but I live in the country too, so I have to put that disclaimer in there.
Yeah, yeah. I see feathers all the time too because I'm out in the
Mm-hmm.
country too. So, um, but you'll have a sense when something is gifted to you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and if you all recall, um, I have correlated how we gift, Native people used to gift feathers back and forth to Bigfoot, and Bigfoot used to gift feathers and stuff to the indigenous people, um, as a way to
Mhm.
say thank you. And the feather is basically a supernatural type of an object. So if if Native people, indigenous people, for thousands of years have been doing this with the forest beings, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever you want to call them, um,
Mhm.
maybe there's a connection there to the fallen. I mean,
Mhm.
there's so many things that, and right now I'm starting to get a headache even trying to think about it. But yeah, it's just the dream was a very, very vivid Technicolor
Yeah.
dream. Let me tell you, it was 4D, 4K, 4D, whatever you want to call it. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, we are we're getting off the subject matter here.
Yeah.
Originally, I wanted to talk about Dogman and have you go over the Dogman and the werewolf differences and all that, and let
Mhm.
everybody know. And then maybe maybe we could talk about encounters and all that. And then I've got a little bit of
Yeah.
an incident that happened here locally a couple nights ago. Um, well, I'll go ahead and I'll tell it real quick,
Yeah.
and then I'll let you take over. Okay. Um,
Yeah. Go for it.
I've said it before that there was about 2 years ago, Tracy and I were walking Jacob, and it was real late at night. It was like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And we took Jacob out to do his, nighttime, late, you know, bathroom break. And no sooner did we get outside, we rounded the corner under the dirt road, and we heard this growl. Okay. And this growl came from behind the trees. And this growl, it was close. It was a canine growl. Okay. And you can tell the difference if you hear it enough between a bear doing it, a lion doing it, and
Mhm.
a canine doing it. There's a distinct difference. Um, anyways, it was such a deep growl and forceful growl that it literally shook our insides, our organs, inside our bodies. That's how deep it was. And so, I was on my guard. I had my sidearm on me, and the flashlight and all that. Um, anyways, we walked up a little bit further. I kept a watch out to make sure it wasn't a wolf or, a pack of coyotes or something. Um, and I looked over between the neighbors' two vehicles probably about 50 feet away from me, at the end of their driveway. And it was dark, but the back of the area was lit up. So like if something was in front of the vehicles, you'd be able to see its silhouette. Um anyways, we got a growl from over there. And at this time,
Mhm.
Tracy's further ahead from me. Okay. She's like 30 feet in front of me. So I draw my pistol, and I take and I draw on the area where the growl came from between the two vehicles, and here stood up. The only way I could describe it was the silhouette that I saw had dog ears. Okay. It
Mm.
wasn't horns. It wasn't anything like that. I didn't see like depth. But this
Mhm.
thing was a dog, and it was standing on 2 feet. Okay. And when it stood up,
Mhm.
it was as tall as me, if not a couple inches taller.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It wasn't some giant 15-foot tall or 9-foot tall. It was probably 6'5" to maybe 6'8", somewhere around there in height. It wasn't,
Oh.
real big. Um, but I had the feeling like it was a female, and the male was over in the trees. But as I think about it, it I think it was garbage night, and
Mm-hmm.
this was in the springtime, and we get a lot of weird stuff happening through here in the springtime, especially at that time of the
Mm-hmm.
night. Um, Springtime, it seems to be like we're a travel corridor for all kinds of cryptid activity here locally. So, but anyways, that's just our first introduction to the whole dogman thing, other than my growing up. Um, Locally, that was the first encounter we had here a couple years ago, and it turned and ran away. It didn't want to. It didn't want to, come at me or anything. It literally turned and just ran
Mm-hmm.
away. And at that time, I could see that it had a tail and all that, and it was running. But when it ran on all fours. Okay, it ran on all fours, kind of like. Hmm, I don't have a picture of it. Dang it! I know I got one on my phone. Anyways, the ass end of it would have been a little higher than the front legs, if you know what I mean. So that's the way it ran,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fast. I mean, it was gone. And I didn't hear the other growls or anything after it had ran away. So, um, but that was our first introduction to what I believe either was a werewolf or a dog man.
Mm-hmm.
And here locally in where we live right now. Um, Now, the other night, I think it was 2 nights ago, um, we get a call from Tracy. Tracy was spending a little Christmas party with our neighbor and her two little girls. They had a little pizza party for Christmas for the girls. Two little young girls. Kindergarten age and kindergarten age. And they were having a good time and stuff and enjoying themselves. Well, the mom to the two girls went to go do something outside to the car, to the van, the minivan or whatever, and she said that she had this deep growl happen at her that scared the bejeebus out of her, and she ran back inside. And Tracy had called Dylan, my son Dylan's phone, and told him to get me and to come over and see what that was, and to bring my gun. So I brought my boomstick and went over there with the flashlights and stuff, and we couldn't find anything. I didn't find any tracks or anything. But I had to sense that something was there. How you have that sixth sense on like you know something's watching you, and that whole scenario. Well, I made sure that the mom and the two girls got into the car okay, and I stayed there, and with the flashlight and the gun, and and the boomstick, and basically made sure they got in the vehicle and left okay. And on the way back, I double checked the tree line and everything, and I could see glowing eyes, not red glowing eyes, but I could see glowing eyes, like the normal greenish yellow, type of an eye shine, when you spot deer or whatnot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they were more yellow than green though, so it's hard to say what it was at that distance, because the tree line was a good 100 yards away, and no other incident that night because I stayed up late that night too to see if I could hear something outside, and I didn't hear anything. So that's the second
Mm.
encounter. And that's the first time I've heard of the growl happening at this time of the year during the colder temperatures. So, and
Yeah.
most black bear around here are already bedded down for the winter, snuggled up, or are in general areas of where they're going to den up, for the winter. So, and it's been bitter cold here lately. I mean, we're talking 17 degrees at night, So we had that to factor in too, So I think that whatever canine it is back. Now, whether it's a dog man or a werewolf or what, or even it could even be a devil dog. I don't even know that there have been reports of devil dogs around here. So
Uh-huh.
I want to know what you think, and let everybody know what you've learned over your experiences and all that. And I'm just going to shut up and drink my coffee.
And no worries. I've been drinking mine. So, there's a lot of people. Dogman is a new term. It came out, 1986, 1984 time frame. It's a new term. Before then, no matter what culture you or throughout history you've read about these things, they were known as werewolves. That's why the last time when we talked about, I believe it was probably on my show, I posed this question. They very well could be werewolves, and what we call dogman is a natural werewolf, where like the Rougarou is a magically created werewolf. So every culture talks about some of them having a tail, some of them not having a tail, some having more like a human body than the others. Some's partially covered in hair, some's fully covered in hair. They all talk about it. The only cultures that actually separate the two is Native American. And the Native Americans are the ones where you're going to find where they're actually separating between a naturally made werewolf and a magically created werewolf. All other cultures throughout history, they just combine the two together. So there is a difference between what we call dogman and what we call a werewolf. There is a difference. One is natural, and Native Americans will tell you the ones with the tail are the natural made ones, and that's the ones we call dogman. And they tell you that the ones that have a lot of like that has less hair, like they'll talk about tufts of hair, like almost like a mane on top of the head and the shoulders, and very little to no hair on the chest, and some hair on the arms and some hair on the legs. That's your magically created ones, which both Native Americans had both of those as well. And so that is where you're going to find the differences, because people ask me, well, there's nothing that separates the two. They got to be the same. No, there is something that separates the two. And the main one is your Native American stories. I've told the stories about the two brothers from the northwestern part of the United States several times. The difference between the two. Now they both were created magically. Um, and yes, I hate this reference, but Twilight really embodied that
No.
story. Yeah, honestly, but true. That is what the two brothers looked like when they transformed before the one became permanently transformed.
Hmm.
Um, you know, they but that's where you're going to find a lot of the separations. Now, when I did my werewolf show, I was talking about different types of werewolves throughout the world, and every single culture. Hey, freaky! Every single culture has a clan of them that are permanent werewolves. They talk about it. They trade, they war, they hunt, they have their own village. Every single culture throughout history has that stuff today. Candy says, "Dee, do you believe there are some created by the government?" Yes, I do. There has been plenty of leaked information from the alphabet soup places that talk about how werewolves are easier to control than dogman because werewolves still keep more of their humanity to them and they're not naturally made. Um, Unlike the dogman, dogman is naturally made, and therefore they keep more of their beast mentality to them, which makes them harder to control.
Yeah, this is
Um,
this is actually a depiction of a werewolf right here that I've got up on the screen.
Sorry, I thought the animals were getting into something. Um, yeah, that's a good one right there. Um, and that's a common one too. I mean, as you can tell, there's no tail. There's no tail on that one. Um, I'm trying to get caught up on the comments here at the same time. Yes, hybrid super soldiers allegedly, but there is a lot of reports coming from these alphabet soup agencies in the military talking about hybrid programs, breeding programs, and it's not just with them. I mean, we're talking about giants. We're talking about cross gene splicing. Creating shark people. In Mesoamerica, they have what we would call werecats, people that can transform into a humanistic cat. I mean, it's all magic, but that fits very similar to the Celtic magic used to call their werebeast. Their werebeast. They had were hyenas. They had were boars, were bucks. I mean, they had whatever skin it was they put on. They was able to transform into that humanistic type of animal. Mesoamerica has the same stuff, just like the Celts do. So, I mean, throughout every civilization, you're going to see the differences between the two, but it's not just werewolves. I mean, it's literally any creature, kind of like what the SW does. Um, yeah, freaky. You know, don't eat the bread when you're being a soldier unless you make it yourself. So, I mean, hey, Larry, how's it going, buddy?
Hey,
Um,
Larry. Hey, Freaky.
so, and that's why I encourage people. You need to study more than one history, because when, like I said, every culture in the world, yes, they talk about the two different kinds, but they don't really separate them. At least not to the way that we would think they would separate them. And it probably was their way of separating them. We just read it and take it a different way. So that's something you have to, when you're doing research on this stuff, you have to understand. People talk differently in that time frame than they do now. We modern researchers have such a bad problem of thinking our way, how we're used to thinking, how we're used to talking, how we're used to writing, and that does a very big disservice to us. So you have to learn to separate modern ways from ancient ways. uh, James says, I think that's awful to think about. That means that sometimes scientists were took a man and a dog, spliced them together, did research and experiments on them, kind of like Dr. Frankenstein. Sadly, Dr. Frankenstein was very realistic, James. In all honesty,
Yeah, he's called
they are
Dr.
known to,
Fauci now.
yeah. Um,
That's a Rumble thing.
yeah, yeah, that's what I was about to say. um, yeah, yeah, I was like, I don't know if I want to dive into that because I don't want to get you in trouble. But yes, you are correct on that. But I mean, honestly, that's what governments have been doing throughout generations. They're always trying to get a one up on their enemy. When
Well,
one,
if you remember too,
mhm,
Russia, back during the after World War II, they were making their own super soldier program, trying to intermix and the human with gorilla DNA, you know, and
Yep.
they weren't successful as far as we know. But not long after that came out encounters in the woods and the forest around in Russia of the Yeren and the Russian Bigfoot, the Russian Yeti.
Mm.
So I mean, who knows if they did or didn't,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. Don't dive. Yeah. Um, so this is not uncommon. So we know I wrote about it in Vangerian Guard Book One, House of Battle. Now that book series is going to be mainly based during World War II which I don't want to say it too much on YouTube, with a certain group of people during that time frame doing certain gene splicings and going after, yeah. um, that's a reason why Anubis, it was a type of one of the first ones. Yes, Larry. There's a lot of evidence to show that Anubis was once, but if you actually study ancient Egyptian, it's very similar. Just like the Old Testament of the Bible, it's all correlates and lines up with ancient Sumerian.
Yeah.
So you can actually take Anubis further back than that. But yes.
Yeah, I honestly think that Anubis was called different things in different areas of the
Yes.
world. So kind of like our theory of with Bigfoot, why Bigfoot's called certain different things. Um,
Yes.
so Anubis, from what I've studied about the ancient Sumerian texts and stuff and all that, and Mesopotamia, um, that Anubis and the beings like him in Egyptian hieroglyphics and stuff were kind of the subordinates to the Anunnaki. They were kind of like the Anunnaki were considered the god, and then they were considered like demigods. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you studied the Sumerian texts and several other texts out there, including the Indian texts of the Mahubakra and oh god, I can't remember the other one, and even the Emerald Tablet, Thoth's Emerald Tablet. You study those, and you'll find out that there were two pyramid wars, and we touched on this briefly the other day.
Yep.
That the first pyramid war almost completely wiped out both sides.
Yeah.
But Ra actually won that one. And there's a reason I'm going here, because I want to make the correlation to all those weird hieroglyphs of animal hybrid and human hybrid creatures in Egypt to today's occurrences. Anyways, Ra won the first pyramid war. Okay. He wanted to have control of all that area at the time. And the second pyramid war happened around India and all that. And Ra basically got forced to leave the planet. Okay. And go into hiding because the race that fought him in the second pyramid war were a little bit more technically powerful than he was. And if you look at the map, and Eric and I have talked about this previously too, being military vets and being overseas and in the sandbox, you can put your hand down in the sand about a foot deep and pull up little round pieces of glass, okay, in the sand. Now, in order for sand or anything to turn to glass, you've got to have over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, okay,
Mm-hmm.
which is equivalent to the hydrogen bomb, okay? So during the Pyramid Wars, there's a theory out there that they actually used atomic weapons to fight each other, okay? Um, and that's why the deserts over there and the sand areas over there have glass in them and are in the areas of where the Sumerian tablets are from. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That whole region is nothing but a big sandbox. Okay. Which would make sense if you're dropping atomic bombs everywhere and hydrogen bombs everywhere. You're going to have that. Okay. It's going to turn from valid plant life to dead sand. You know. Um.
Yeah.
Anyways, my whole connection with that is that you have where Ra had to leave, okay, and Anubis had to leave, and all of them had to leave. At the same time frame, you've got all these depictions of certain beings in other areas of the world, okay, and reports of
Mm-hmm.
them and history of them. So I don't altogether think that maybe they left the planet. I think maybe they just inhabited another area of the planet, if you know what I mean. And that could be
Yeah.
another reason why we're experiencing all these different cryptids today too, is because of the inbreeding with humanity to their genetics. So it's the same thing as creating something in a lab doing genetic engineering, taking the human DNA and splicing it with a dog, or a shepherd, a German shepherd, or a wolf. You can do the same thing. It's just maybe
Yeah.
they had enough human DNA in them to begin with, Eric, to breed with the daughters of men again to create these cryptids.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I
maybe it
mean,
was just
you got
fire.
you got to consider something too. Most of your Native Americans would tell you the ones that we call like dog man, hey Demos, they were along the
Hey, Dim.
lines of Shiatonka. They were the first beings. They were here before we were. The ones that we call dogmans, the natural born werewolves, they were here before humans. So that explains
Hey, Jane.
quite a bit of stuff. And if
Yeah.
the Anunnaki took the clay of the earth and mixed their DNA with the clay of the earth to create humans, that would be why we have some genetic similarities to them. I want to answer
Hmm.
Roxanne's question real quick. She says, "So, would the dog-headed people, the cynocephali, how would you categorize them? I believe they were probably more of like what we call dogman, the natural ones. You'll see so many reports throughout history of people talking about these villages of dog-headed people. Now, some of them could be the ones that transform back and forth that we would consider a werewolf, the ones without a
Yeah.
tail. But there's a lot of
Yeah. I
reports of the ones talking about the
yeah.
ones with the
I
tail
don't
that
know.
are
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if you, Eric, or if Angelique or Kyle or anybody in the chat has heard this aspect of it, but my uncles used to tell me that the Shunkawarikon was able to snap its back legs and stand up like a human
mm-hmm,
and walk like a human. I
mm-hmm,
don't know if there's been reports of that in other areas of the world, but my my uncle Art used to tell me that whenever they had dealings with the Shunkawarikon, that it would growl at him and it would get angry with him, and when it got angry with him, it would literally stand up, and as it stood
mm-hmm,
up, when it got to that halfway mark, they heard two distinctive pops, like
mm-hmm,
snaps, okay, and but louder, and then it stood straight up, and it was every bit of 7 feet tall. So there is that possibility that maybe the reports of the Shunka or the dire wolves are
Mm-hmm.
literally the remnants of this species that has the ability to run on all fours and stand on bipedal legs. I'm just putting that out
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yeah, I mean, and that fits with so many. Because listen to all the other ancient encounters. They talk about how these village of dog-headed people can run on all fours or walk on all twos. I mean, that is throughout history. You know, it's always there. And Judy, to answer your question, either yes, that is true, or the fact that if you study Egyptian culture, it is very similar to the ancient Sumerian. That maybe it was confused, and they're the same things. They're just told differently. Because if you
Exactly.
remember, me and William talk about this all the time. Every
Yeah.
civilization is built on the dust and bones of the previous civilization. So a lot of
Yep.
times they will adapt and take in some things from them cultures and add it into theirs. Could that be what we're seeing with Anubis? That is very possible. Or it's the fact that they're just talking about something and then they're put it in their terms instead of the terms that was previous. I mean, it's one of those we really just there's no definitive answer on that. And I was
Right.
the whole time we were sitting here talking, I kept having something popping in my head. The Tower of Babel, the fall of the Tower
Yeah.
of Babel. When we all before the fall, we all thought the same, looked the same, acted the same, believed the same until the fall of Tower of Babel when God split the people, split the tongue, and split the looks. Could that be a metaphor for when the Anunnaki finished their war and left because they know that whenever they started marrying human women and mating with them, their offsprings became uncontrollable, became violent, and started attacking? Could that be what the fall of the Tower of Babel is? I don't know why that
Yeah.
popped in my head, but we were talking and that literally just popped in my head.
Yeah. I mean, it would make sense if you think about
Mm-hmm.
it. It really would. Wow. I mean, there's so many ways you can go with this whole thing. Um,
Yeah.
but that's why we pick everybody's brain
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday mornings. So
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Engine leak. That's cool. And James, yeah, I've heard that quite often with the SWs. Honestly, have. Yeah, I'm trying to get caught up on the comments. The Finns against the Russians. The Viren Suzy Sami people told of a wolf-like for Russians not to their when Finns went to sea. They saw bodies but no prints of dead animals. What do you think? Are you talking about the Germans that tried to invade Finland and they went through them woods and they were told not to by the people and they did? I've actually got a brother that's a Finnish soldier and he told me it was them who did it. Even though the government says it wasn't, he says, no, it was us. Now, I posed the question, could it be the ones that could transform into a werewolf? Or was it a werewolf like culture that's been there, like your dog headed people that's lived there for a long time has done it? And that's why he says it was us. Or the fact that he's in the military in Finland, is that what he's told to say? I don't know if we'll ever get the truth on
right.
it, but he said it was them who did that.
Well, I'm going to
We're just
I'm going to
talk about the history.
I'm uploading something right now. I want to show everybody here.
Okay.
Here's a map. Okay. I can't
Oh, that's a
really
cool man.
focus in on it, but there is a section of this map that shows. Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Come on. Come on. Oh. It's not going to let me do it. It's not going
I
to let
tell
me
you
blow
what.
it up.
So send that to me, brother, and I'll pop that up on my other monitor, and I can share it and zoom in and out on it.
All right, hold on. Let me get it out of there then.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, let me see here. Let me see if I've got another picture of it where it shows the close-up. I might have it.
Okay.
Go ahead and continue the conversation, and
Yep.
I'll be with you all in a second.
Yeah, it's so I mean, there's so much history on these things, and there is several descriptions throughout history talking about some of them having to tell, some of them not. And so many times they're talked about magic creating some of them, and that's why I know people don't like it. There's a lot of people don't agree with it, but I'm sorry, I'm going off of what history says, and some of them have a tail and some of them don't. The ones that don't have a tail, they're the magically created ones, and they still have a lot of their humanity to them. Even the Rougarou. I believe it's, what is it, 70 days? They have 70 days until they can get the curse off of them, and they still have a lot of their humanity into them. And so many cultures talk about how some of them are human during the day, and it really depends on who you're studying. Some will tell you they can only transform during a lot of them will tell you they can only transform during a full moon. But there is stories of them being able to transform outside of a full moon. Now, could that be a misidentification on that instance where they're transforming outside of a full moon, and what they're mistaking a human, wanting to blame this human to being this werewolf when it was actually a what we call dog man, a natural werewolf. Yeah. Antarctic Treaty over in 2020. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, Judy. You're right. That is coming up. They'll make a new one before it's up, though. Yeah. I believe you're right, Judy. There's more than meets the eye.
I posted a couple pictures onto
Tell,
the site that you can pop up if you want to.
Okay, let me pull up my Facebook here. Well,
No, you just
you
it's right in
go. Come on.
StreamYard.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Um. Okay, let me think how. Okay. Okay. Let me see if I can save these pictures. No, let me do it that way. Oh, it won't let me do it that way. Save image. Okay. Let me do that.
Still looking for that map. Aha. Here we go. Got it. All right. I got the map. Here's the map. Now you see the depiction in the center of the map of the dogs.
Irish map.
Yeah. And the basically the Bigfoot. They're right there side by side. And somewhere on this map also it shows almost like a lizard being too. So these beings, these cryptids that we call cryptids, have been around for quite a while.
Yep. Yeah, that's a yeah. I know that's a oh, that's such a cool
Anyways, here's what I wanted to show you also.
crap. Yeah, that's a big wolf. That's a big wolf.
Yep. Now, that just goes to show you, there might be some camera play to that, but
Mm-hmm.
the individual standing next to it could be, a couple feet back from it, which makes it look taller than it is. But the guy standing to the left of it, in the hat, um, that guy's got to be every bit of at least what, 5'11", 6 foot.
6 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a big wolf, and they do get that
Mm-hmm.
big, But my whole point of showing this picture is when you see an animal on all fours, you don't assume it's it could be gigantic. Most people, when they see something on all fours, they think, oh, it'll run away, it's just an animal. But if you've
Mm-hmm.
ever heard or seen these things stand up, um, like the one did between the two vehicles that night when Tracy and I were walking Jacob, it's something. I mean, it blows your mind. It literally blows your mind when you see them stand up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, the one that I had between the two vehicles in my sights was not an 8 foot tall giant one. It was just about 6.5 feet tall. But it could have been a younger one. It could have been a female. It could, what I mean? It could
Mm-hmm.
have been, could have been anything really, other than, a
Mm-hmm.
full grown one or a male. So all I know is that when those things growl at you, it's just like the reports with Bigfoot, okay? And I've felt it with Bigfoot also, from his hollers and his loud guttural sounds. It literally shakes your insides of your body. That's how deep of a growl it is coming from these canines. And I'm classifying the werewolves in that group and the dog man. Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
even even the devil dogs, I'm going to classify in that because they've all been reported in this area as having that deep growl that literally can make a man piss himself. Literally.
Yeah. I
And then,
tried to pull up that map, but it showed it too small because I guess I saved it off of your deal so that we could zoom in and
uh,
look on it. So I'd have to have the actual picture to be able to do that. That's a
okay.
big print.
Yep.
Judging by that leaf looks like it's roughly about an inch and a half long, maybe a half inch wide. So that would put that at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches long.
Yep.
Roughly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, roughly 6 inches wide. Wow.
Yep. That's a big print. And look at how deep it is, too, though.
Dude, that's a heavy dude. I mean, that is some soft ground. So depending, we got to factor that in there too. That looks like it's pretty saturated ground, but still, roughly, I'm going to put that thing at around 400 or 500 pounds.
Yeah. I'd say about 400, 450.
Yeah,
I just wanted to pop those up there.
yeah. I
Let
was
me
trying
see
to
if I
get
can
where I
get
can
that
zoom
picture
in on
to
that.
you.
Yeah, I was trying to get that to zoom in to where you could do that, but they won't let me do it that way.
Yeah.
I
Let
was
me see if
hoping
I
it
can.
would, but
I'll see if I can get it to you. All right. Let's see.
um, yeah, that's a wolf print, freaky. I don't think it was running. Let me pop it up here and I'll explain to you why I don't think that print was running. It's
There's
too
no smudge
it's
mark.
too neatly done. Yeah, there's no smudge mark. There's no slide. In that kind of saturated ground, if it was running, you'd see some sliding. There's no sliding. It's almost like it was carefully walking, and that's what I mean, I could be wrong, but to me, when I see that print, that's what I'm reading. The claws do dig into the ground a little bit, and there is a slight little slide to it, which would suggest it was walking or creeping. There's just not nothing real big or definitive on the slide or the dig ins. Yeah.
I'll be a son of
Where was
a...
that taken at again?
That was right here in where we're at. I'm not going to disclose the exact location.
Okay. So you may, I mean, what's an average? I believe a wolf print on an average is
Well, a
4 or
200
5
pound
inches
wolf,
long.
yeah, the average wolf is going to be anywhere from 160 to 200 pounds, timber wolf.
Right.
And they're going to be every bit of on two legs, 6.5 foot tall, very, very easily. So they're a
Hmm.
big animal to begin with. But you know, there's so many reports of different canines in the area, and I wanted to pull one up here. This is the Dueo, which is a Maryland. This is a Maryland legend. Okay. And I want to
Hmm.
show you the difference between the two. This is an artist's depiction of what he saw.
I just looked it up. I was right. And a wolf's footprint, what we know as wolves nowadays, is an average between 4 and 5 inches. So that thing is way bigger. Oh, that what?
That that is an artist's rendition of what the witnesses have been seeing in Maryland.
Huh? That's got demonic written all over that damn thing. Wow, that is weird looking.
Yep, but you can distinctly see a tail, you know,
Hmm. And it's
and you can
covered with fur,
distinctively,
but
yeah, but it's not covered completely in fur,
no.
which
Hmm.
means could it be, a hybrid?
Yeah. Or you also got to factor in the fear factor because fear will make you see things and make you not see things because your mind is trying to grasp what you're looking at. So anytime you think of wolf, you're always going to concept or concede a tail on it.
Hmm.
So when somebody's in fear and seeing something, their accounts can be somewhat accurate and somewhat made up because you have to add that adrenaline into it.
Right.
And that's the hard part about the fear factor. The fear factor can harm and can also help a researcher. But
Well, you see
anytime
how
you're
the
doing,
bottom, you see how its feet are depicted, its
mm-hmm,
back feet, hind leg feet are depicted being
mm-hmm,
that big. That's the
mm-hmm,
kind of foot that I saw on that canine laying next to that deer on the road down here that got hit at the same
oh
time.
wow,
Apparently, it was chasing the deer to unalive it, and it got hit.
got it.
Now, by the time I turned around and got back to videotape what I had seen the following morning,
Mm-hmm.
which was only like 8 hours, um, the bodies were gone of the deer and the
Mm-hmm.
canine cryptid were gone. So, but the feet that I saw were exactly like that.
Yeah, that's a common depiction of their feet. Angelique says, "Okay, y'all take something into consideration. I used to work with wolves and did public speakings about them in the 1980s. The government did do genetic modifications of 2 wolf species. Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think one was the Mexican red wolf, wasn't it?
mm it was done to bring down the moose population in the Great Lakes." Roxanne says that's almost like the one that I saw 8 years when I was 8 years old, but the hair was not that long on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
by
that's
crossbreeding.
definitely,
They
yeah,
literally,
it's definitely some kind of a hybrid.
hmm,
Because even the forearms don't have that much hair. It's got enough
yeah.
hair on it that when you see it on all fours, you wouldn't think that it wasn't a wolf. You know what I mean? It's got enough hair on it to at
hmm
least portray itself as a four-legged animal. Um,
It does. It does. Man, that is so creepy looking. That is very creepy looking.
but anyways, that's the thing that's been spotted in Maryland, um, all
Hmm.
the way from Cumberland, Maryland, all the way over to the oh, where is it? Oh, the crabbing area of Maryland. I can't remember. Bel Air.
There, there's
From
a
Bel Air,
dumb in
Maryland,
Maryland.
all the way over to Cumberland. That thing's been spotted.
Hmm. If I remember correctly, there's a dumb in Maryland, ain't there?
Well, yeah, that you have the oh God, the God, I can't remember the military base there. But they did all kinds of genetic research and stuff there too. David's in the chat. Maybe he can remember. The Maryland facility for the United States Army that's in
Because what
Maryland.
I'm thinking here, and what this is screaming to me, is this is a dumb creation. Kind of what we was talking about earlier.
All right.
That
Yeah.
really screams that. And
Yeah.
there
It's
has been report leaked out from dumbs about how they take and
Fort Detrick.
cross if
Fort Detrick.
yeah.
That's the name of it. I'm sorry. I drew a blank, but it just dawned on me when you said dumb. Fort Detrick,
Yep.
Maryland is smack dab in the center of where this thing has been spotted.
hmm Yeah, and so that got me thinking. If memory serves me correctly, they they have been trying to combine natural and unnatural in gene splicings to create something. I could be wrong, but I believe they. I need to look that up. I believe I remember reading something about that somewhere. I need to look that up. Could that be what we're looking at? Is this is the new version? This is bat number Charlie 164 Delta Delta. you know.
Right.
Uh, oh, there's 11. David says there's 11 facilities in Maryland.
Yeah, it
That would
was
make
Fort Detrick
sense,
I was
though.
thinking of though. Yeah. It was Fort Detrick I was
Uh,
thinking of because Fort Detrick was used for, if I can remember correctly, David, it was used for
oh.
chemical, biological, and genetic research during World War II and the
hmm
Vietnam War and the Korean War. It's also been said that that's where some of the remote viewing was done out of too, was Fort Detrick, Maryland. And correct
David
me if I'm
says the
wrong.
U.S. Army.
I believe it is.
David said the U.S. Army DEVCOM Army Research Laboratory now. Things are starting to come together on this picture here.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Things are really starting to come together. Could this be the new batch that they created? Because once they create something, other countries create something, so they've got to one up that other country. That other country's got to one up. I mean, it's a back and forth. Is this what we're seeing? Is these things on basically in latent terms? This is one of them on steroids.
Well, I definitely would consider this being something that would make your insides vibrate if it growled at you.
Dude, look at the size. It's massive.
I mean, just the rendition that, and this is just an artist's rendition. Can you imagine what the thing actually does look like?
Mm-hmm.
First off, look at how big its mouth is depicted in this. It's definitely something that's going to be a meat eater. It's going to be a carnivore, a full bore carnivore.
Well, in the mouth is so wrong. There's no snout to it. The mouth on this thing is just
almost human.
So wrong.
It's almost human looking. If you think it's like the Joker's smile.
Yeah. Yes. David said Fort Detrick was the center of the U.S. biological weapons program from 1943 to 1969.
Bingo. I was right.
Yeah.
Good night, Hawk. Good night, Hawk. You're not brain dead yet.
Good boy. Good boy. You need a biscuit. You need a treat.
I'm not brain dead yet. I can thunk real good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's creeping me out the longer I have it up there. Because when I think about the drawing that I drew of the bottom of the feet pads that I saw on that cryptid that got hit, that got unalived by a vehicle trying to cross a certain road here locally, just a mile or so down the road from us. I showed David the spot, David and Melissa, when they were up here once, when we were driving past it. And ironically, the location of where this was, there is an opening in the ground. It looks like it's the size of like a manhole cover. Okay. But it opens up into a cavern system and a cave system underground. So maybe it was trying to get to that cave system with this deer, and got unalived by the vehicle. And I have pictures of a government van that was in the area after I went back, 8 hours later, in the morning when I went back to take the videotape and all that and pictures. Oh God, somebody's screaming. Anyways, to make a long story short, I've got pictures of a government van. And when I went back to the area to videotape it and to take pictures, the bodies of the deer and this canine cryptid were gone, and that van was driving away. So I've got pictures of the van leaving the site. But yeah, thanks, Candy. That's funny.
Hey, real quick, David, do me a favor. You may have access to this. This is really bugging me. But if I remember right, have they been cross genetifying a made werewolf with a natural werewolf. Because for the life of me, I swear that I've read that somewhere, and maybe I don't know if you have that information handy by chance.
Hey, Scott's in the house. Good to see you, Scott.
Scott's in the house.
Scott's in the house. He snuck in the back door.
Oh God, he moaned. I can't remember, dude. That's bugging the hell out of me now that I think about that, dude. If you're not going to sit still, stay on your pillow.
I thought you were talking to me.
Okay. Thank you, buddy. That's bugging the hell out of me because I remember hearing or reading something about that somewhere. He's been here but multitasking.
Oh,
no, Dad,
I thought you were telling me to stay on my pillow.
No, he's wanting to move around and shift, and I'm having a hard time holding him. And
I was going to say, I've got a pillow. I've got a pillow.
I've actually got a new one.
Thanks to David and Melissa.
I had to get me. Hey, Melissa. I had to get me this new chair because I broke my other one. Well, me and the animals piled in my lap broke my other one. So this thing was hurting my tailbone. So I actually got a new seat for my computer chair. Dude, this thing is like one of the most comfortable. I'm wanting to figure out how to make a motorcycle seat using this daggone thing here. That freaking thing is so comfortable.
Yeah.
So comfortable.
You want to see uncomfortable? This is uncomfortable. I'm going to show you guys. This is the chair I'm sitting in, and it weighs about 100 pounds. It's an old wooden chair.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's made out of oak. And I didn't have anything to sit on, so my ass was on this hardwood chair all these years doing podcasts and stuff before I got this pad. And this pad is actually the pad that goes in the wheelchair that David and Melissa gave me to use. So I'm using this pad to sit on. So, because every now and then I got to use a wheelchair. I just, sometimes my legs give out on me. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I got to put more coffee in my cup.
Because like one of my back problems is because I have no butt, so I sit on my tailbone, and that hurts when I'm riding. That's true. Yeah, you're as fluffy as I am, and you have no butt. You're sitting on your tailbone. It causes problems. Then that's one of the problems I have when I'm riding too. Is just I'm constantly bouncing up and down on that tailbone. And
I like you. You're funny.
Look at that. This seat cushion already. Oh my gosh, this thing is awesome.
Oh. Yeah, yes, my ass is non-existent.
I have the Hank Hill syndrome. Yes, I do. Heifer, I really do.
You got implants?
That's my implant. I just showed it to you. I'm actually no shit. I'm actually trying to figure out how to create a motorcycle seat with this design because this
you just got to go get you just got to go get the Brazilian butt lift. That's all you need. The Kardashian butt lift.
That's something, It's man. That's yes, Candy, and girls get mad at me when I tell them that, but it's the damn truth. Ask gas or grass. Nobody rides for free, and I can't smoke. So, God. But I was like, my back seat of my bike ain't for everybody. She's not a whore. My bike is not a whore. Yeah, butt suspenders. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm losing my eyesight now. Thanks. Oh
uh,
God.
yes,
Butt
actually, they
suspenders.
are doing that.
Oh, Richard.
Freaky, they are
Oh
actually
man.
doing that. They're bringing back the woolly mammoth and the Siberian tiger, and they're wanting to release them in the um, um, oh my God, I just brain farted the location. Um, not the Sahara. Um, what is that damn cold range? I forgot the name of it off the top of my head, but they're wanting to release them there. And there's actually plenty of reports coming out of Alaska and Canada of still Siberia. Yeah, Roxanne. There actually is plenty of photographic and video evidence in Alaska and Canada of still having woolly mammoth running around them. In fact, fun fact, if you guys like reading books, Louis L'Amour in his very first Sackett book talks about him running into, well, first two books. One of them talk about his native friend running into one. And the second one, or it's no, it might have been both. The first one, they had to unalive one because it charged after them. Even Louis
Well,
Lamar was writing about these things in his books.
well, you don't have to go very far back in time in Alaska because last year there were reports coming out of Alaska from the seismologists of the
Mm-hmm.
U.S. What is it? The USGS? Yeah, the USGS, the Department of Government,
Mm-hmm.
USGS, that reported the seismograph readings for a certain area in Alaska kept on going off like there was an earthquake, and they sent a couple guys into by plane to check it out. And when they were flying over the area, they noticed what looked like woolly mammoths in the area. So it's I don't believe you know first off, in order to believe that first off, Russia or China or even the United States or Great Britain wouldn't take advantage of bringing back something like that genetically
Mm-hmm.
through DNA splicing and all that, um, and possibly cross genetics it to a modern day elephant, something that recent, to bring it back. I don't know any country out there that wouldn't. I don't know
Yeah.
anybody alive that wouldn't pay out the ass to see a woolly mammoth. Literally, I mean, think
Mm-hmm.
about it. That's a once in a lifetime thing, you know. So
Angelique says my ex-husband lives in the far north of Alaska, and the tribes there say the woolly mammoths are still there. So I mean that falls with a lot of other stuff I've been hearing too. I mean I've heard the same stuff, and like I said, Louis Lamar wrote about it in his very first Sackett book. People
yep,
don't realize there's multiple Sackett books that he wrote. He wrote about experiencing that, and that was in like the New York area is kind of where that book takes place,
right.
right in there.
Now I don't, here's the thing though, okay, when we're dealing with that kind of a subject matter where we're told by the professionals, the experts, to say that the woolly mammoth was extinct along with the dinosaurs, I think it's utter bullshit. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
There have been reports of dinosaurs in America. There have been reports of dinosaurs in um, the South America. There have
Mm-hmm.
been reports of woolly mammoth in Alaska. I don't believe for one instance that these so-called experts know what they're talking about. We've been lied to about everything else. why wouldn't they lie to us about the extinct species out there? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So, to
Yep.
me, I don't think that they became extinct. I think that they were hardy enough to withstand a
Mm-hmm.
nuclear winter. Let's put it that way.
Oh yeah. Angelique says that he has found Tusk just laying on top of the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
and
in
there's so many people
Florida,
talking about
yeah, in Florida, just south of the panhandle of Florida, they did an archaeological dig there, and they found human bones buried with mastodon bones.
it. Mm-hmm.
So that tells you right there the
Yeah.
timelines add up.
I remember, I think it was the 80s, I was talking to somebody from Alaska, and they actually put this in a TV show at one time, I think, if memory serves me correctly, or a movie or TV show or something. They were talking about finding frozen remains of woolly mammoth and eating the meat. The meat was still good.
Hmm. I don't know if
Um,
I'd eat the meat, but
yeah,
that's like drinking the
they,
glacier water once it melts. Sorry, I wouldn't do it.
well, I mean,
You never know what kind of
humans
freakish
used to
disease you're going to get.
humans used to survive off of eating them, so I mean, it'd be the same concept. So, but yeah, permafrost.
Humans humans were a lot more physically fit back then and tolerable to the climate. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think that they'd be a hardier stock of a being, than what we are today.
Yep. Yeah. Um, it's yeah. I mean, it's but they talk about eating the meat. I mean, he says, yeah. I mean, it's food is scarce up there. So if you come across something like that buried in the snow, it's frozen, so the meat's still good. It's the same concept as if we cut it up and put it in the freezer. I mean, I can't say I disagree with him.
I like fresh. I
Yeah,
like fresh kills.
yeah. Well, it's these things here. The way it was described is like it was unalive during an avalanche. So an avalanche took it out. So out of permafrost and cooked it up. Some archaeological groups of financial supports. I've heard of that before. That could be the same concept of what he was talking about. Yeah. I mean, they were harsher back then, but you got to think too, we still have them genetics in us. We still have the genetics of our ancestors in us. So we
Uh, we
very well could survive off of that. That
we're
is
still
not out of the realm of
genetically
possibility.
we're still genetically linked to lizards and monkeys and the pinyon pine tree too, though. So, but that doesn't make us growing in a forest. you
Well,
know.
technically, I did. I grew up in the woods. So,
Uh,
well, I mean, you got to think. I mean, our genetic makeup still has the imprints from diseases back them days, um, and everything else. I mean, and somebody said, Angelique said it earlier. They still have ancient bacteria in the glaciers. Yeah, they still have what they call ice worms that burrow through the ice in Antarctica, or not Antarctica,
North,
Norway,
right
I
there
think it
in.
was.
Yeah. Yep.
Hmm. So, oh, I ain't gonna lie, I would try it if I had the opportunity. Shit, yeah, I'd try it.
Mm.
Yeah,
Not me. Not
I'm a
unless it has
carnivore
a
man. I
Best
like
Buy
it.
date.
Yeah, oh man, I did in a heartbeat.
I don't need anything
But
else to go wrong physically. So,
well, I
well, we're
mean,
at the two
so
hour mark here, bro.
oh yeah, we are, and I've got to get her up to the school because she's got to clean up the theater.
Mm.
So, um, but yeah, so I'm going to be doing I'll plug my stuff tonight. If you guys haven't looked, I dropped the thermal video of what I captured Tuesday night, which is the reason why I haven't posted one of my realistic dreams yet. I've got everything set up. I just got to record it, stitch it all together. But so that got released. That's why I didn't get no sleep, hardly any sleep last night. Um, so that is available on my YouTube. I did catch something very interesting. Um, William's seen it. DA's seen it. They all said the same thing. Something was watching me. And this takes place because you can actually hear heavy things walking in the woods. I mean, there's more than one of these things there.
Yeah,
Whatever it
definitely.
is, more than one. So if you guys haven't had a chance to get over to my YouTube channel, The Bizarre and the Unknown, and look it up, take a look. I mean, I captured something hiding in the trees watching me. Um, so that's available. I am going to. My plan. I haven't posted it yet. My plan is to do a show on Beowulf, and I've been trying to do the research on it. I have just been busier than a daggone hiccup with with the play and everything else going on. I'm probably still going to do it on Beowulf. It probably won't be as good as I wanted it to because trying to get pronunciations right, trying to get names, locations, and everything down right. Unless I read it from the computer screen, which I may have to do because of that. Um, but I plan on doing a little bit because there's interesting things about Beowulf that ties into the mysteries and the bizarreness of our past and our present and our future. And that
Right.
was he was very well known for having superhuman strength, very similar to what we talk about a lot of times as in demigods. And I'm a firm believer that Beowulf was a demigod. I'm a big believer in that. So I'll be doing a show tonight on Beowulf. I haven't had a chance to get it set up yet, so just keep an eye on YouTube. I will have it up. I've got to take my daughter um, to the school so they can clean up the theater, and then I've got to rush back here, meet somebody else here to get a truck off. But I get a truck off a trailer. Meeting DA. And we got a few things. I'm going to show him some of the stuff around here, the hot spots I have around here while he's here. So I will have it up. It may be close to showtime that I have it up, but I will have it up. But I've got
Yeah, good.
artwork and everything created. So that's what
Good.
I got
Now,
going on. During the week, I will try to get the other put out. The Bizarre and the Unknown, Decipher. I'll put it in here.
also, for those of you that came in late in this podcast today, you might want to go back to the beginning and watch it because we discussed a dream that I had in the beginning of the show today, and it was really a pretty in depth conversation. So, um, and very eye opening to me. So, if I ever had a shred of doubt that the fallen ones aren't the ones in charge, I don't doubt it now. From the dream that I had. So if you wanna, you know, start over from the beginning and watch the podcast, that'd be great. Please share this out, like it if you can. Hit that bell notification for all because if you're on private, you may not get notified of the lives
Mm-hmm.
or the videos we put out. And please, everybody, remember that December 10th at 8 p.m. Eastern, we've got our Christmas special. Eric and I will be coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Eric and I will be hosting the Christmas special, and we've got none other than Ron Howe's Biker Bigfoot coming on, and we're going to be talking with him and find out what his group is all about and what they do and what he does and all that and why he does it. We're going to pick his brain is what we're going to do. And then we've got hopefully, if my brother Dennis is feeling up to it, I'll be checking on him later today. Um, Hopefully, if he's able to, um, we'll see if we can get him to do the Christmas story, the Christmas uh, reading. Okay. And then we've got my little brother Ryan coming on. Ryan Paul Tremblay is going to come on and going to wish everybody a good Christmas and a happy New Year and all that. And we're going to pick his brain a little bit, and it's going to be kind of a cool time. You know, if Jacob's feeling up to it, I might even bring him on the show for a couple minutes to say hello to everybody. And Santa's little helper. He's a good boy. He was sick, but he's getting better. Let's see, what else do we got going on? I do have the End of the Red Rabbit Hole rescheduled for next Friday. So we'll be getting into some weird stuff on that. But other than that, I've got my surgery coming up and all that. So keep me in your prayers. That's scheduled for December 20th at 9 something in the morning. So other than that, that's pretty much my December schedule for the time being until I figure out if I come out of the surgery okay. I'll be back on. So everybody, thank you for being here in the chat. Thank you for being awesome and being part of the family. We appreciate it so much. If you can, like I said, please like, heart, and share this out. Okay. And if you came in late, just might want to watch it from the beginning. It was pretty cool in the beginning. We got into some really deep subjects with angels and stuff. So, and the dream that I had. So everybody have a great rest of your Sunday. Enjoy it. And question everything.
Peace, love, and blessings, everyone.